Good morning.
Good morning.
You guys are more and more enthusiasm as people listening to that. Well, as Shani said, my name is Hannah Kapp-Klote, and I was placed at the Maine Hunger Initiative of Preble Street with Laura. And I was working on the after-school meals and snack program in Maine. How many people have heard of that program? All the people have heard of it. Yeah! Which is good, because it's a program that's relatively new. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about what particularly the after-school meals and snack program looks like in Maine. I'm also going to talk about some of the implementation barriers to really making the program get off the ground. And finally, I'm going to give two specific examples demonstrating some of those challenges and how they can be overcome, both on a macro level of state and national changes, but also in sort of the micro program level changes. Here we go. So I'll start just briefly overviewing the after-school meals and snack program. It's a federal reimbursement program, and it provides food for any after-school enrichment program. So any type of educational activities that may occur for students under the age of 18, whether it's tutoring or focusing on drama or sports or anything like that, you can receive funding to provide healthy meals and snacks. And as I said earlier, the program has not been available in Maine for very long. It's only been in 2010 that the program sort of got off the ground and could be implemented. And so not only in Maine, but across the country, the program there are a lot of nuts and bolts to work out in terms of best practices. And the program is available in eligible areas where 50% or more of students qualify for free and reduced meals. And I think it's also important that while I was in Maine, I heard it referred to by a number of different names, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but it's called At-Risk CACFP, or Child and Adult Care Feeding Program. I've heard it as the After-School Meals and Snack, At-Risk After-School Meals and Snack. There are a lot of different names that I've heard nationally and in Maine, which can always be challenging. But for the purposes, after talking to advocates in Vermont, I've been using the term after-school meals and snacks, kind of bumping that at risk to reduce stigma, and also to make sure people are aware of both the meals and the snack part. You wouldn't even think that would be intuitive, but it's important. So I think in Maine, the after-school meals and snack program is particularly interesting. One of the things I noticed when I talked to child care providers that they really emphasized, or they were excited about, is a lot of parents, particularly those in sending their children to programs that are in eligible areas, are doing a lot of precarious work. And there's an Urban Institute study from 2011 saying that particularly in low-income areas, parents are often doing work that has irregular hours during the evening or on the weekend. And the child care programs or after-school programs that occur during these hours are extremely important, and having the opportunity to provide food in that time is equally important. Laura talked about the rural geography. She also talked about food insecurity in Maine, so check. And, I also want to point out that Laura was saying there are not that many organizational, there are challenges in terms of organizational capacity, partially because Maine is an aging state. That's a piece of rhetoric that gets used a lot to talk about the populations receiving services, that they're older, but it also impacts infrastructure of state offices and of nonprofit organizations, because people are retiring, getting older, and there's not necessarily the institutional memory that you would hope for in these large organizations that have been doing anti-hunger work for years. So I think that's an interesting thing to consider when looking at this program. And finally, there's really strong summer meals program participation in Maine. I think that that's one of the programs that's most concrete and most solid in terms of infrastructure, and that plays a role in later conversations. So I wanted to talk about the implementation barriers that I saw in particular in Maine, because I think that there are three kind of main areas in which there are challenges. One is the program awareness. I was joking yesterday that when I called people on the phone, I would say, "Hi, have you heard of the after-school meals and snack program?" People say, "No, never heard of that. What is that?" And that is a huge challenge when you're trying to get people to implement a program, is that they've never heard of it before. But that also kind of expands into outreach strategies. People weren't necessarily aware of the program or what it actually looked like, and it was hard for state coordinators partners as well as stakeholders in the communities to advocate for the program because they didn't know who was best served by it. When I got to Maine, a lot of after-school programs that were being served were smaller child care programs, similar to, I think, who Yushi was working with in your work. And those aren't necessarily the best candidates for running this program because they face so many challenges in terms of their size. So program awareness can not only be a challenge in trying to convince people that the program works for them, but it also impacts your outreach strategy of who can best sustainably implement the program. And then finally, one of the things that I saw was just the lack of capacity for a lot of after-school programs to really run this program. They were concerned about the paperwork, the funding, the startup costs, and those were some of the biggest challenges that I saw when I was in Maine. So some of the strategies around that, some of them are really simple. Building program awareness, making some changes to the application so it goes a little faster, making sure that people who not only know about the program also know how the program works, and working with existing networks, particularly already established summer meals programs, to acknowledge that this program is really effective and can be extremely accessible. You just have to find the right people to implement it. And finally, I know a lot of the questions that I faced when I worked with the state coordinator is that we wouldn't necessarily know what the accessibility or reliability of something was until we piloted that through a program actually going through the application process and learning what some of the challenges were. So those are some of the strategies that we used. I'm going to talk really briefly about Tiffany Panagakos, who was one of the women I worked with at the Boys and Girls Club of Rutherford and Sagamore. I don't have a picture of Tiffany, but I do have a picture of the Boys and Girls Club sign. And one of the things that I found with Tiffany that was particularly interesting was that she was really excited about the program and excited about the opportunity to get food, but didn't know, first of all, didn't know anything about the program and didn't feel like she had the time or the staff or the money to run the program effectively. So it was only through talking with her and acknowledging all of the community resources that she could have access to through the program and getting a lot of different people on board, whether it was summer meal sites that she worked with in the past, summer meal sponsors she'd worked with in the past, or just also making sure that the state coordinator was available for her. That made her program run faster. And I also want to talk about Ron Adams, who Laura kind of alluded to. That's a great picture. He's a good-looking guy. And he runs the nutrition department of Portland Public Schools. And Ron, I think, is sort of, people like Ron are the rock stars of the after-school meals program because they're already familiar with the USDA guidelines, the infrastructure of the program. They've done summer meals, so they know how to deal with state and federal regulations. But then they also are interested in being able to expand the program overall. So Ron, he was a sponsor and provided food for a number of different programs that were smaller. Rather than just having one after-school meal program or another after-school meal program, Ron sponsored and vended for 4 or 5 different programs, saving them the administrative and bureaucratic challenges of the paperwork, but also able to sort of be kind of the hero of the program and tell other people that this is a really effective program that you could do. So Ron was a really good advocate in terms of getting through the application and also making sure that, as I was talking about earlier, this idea of piloting programs, he had the capacity and the infrastructure to sort of work through some of the challenges in the application process and really understanding how it worked. So with that, I'll end my project ending with this picture of Ron. I'll say that the after-school meals program is great in Maine, that it certainly is something that will continue to be expanded